What's up, folks? Work got canceled today, so I got to go on the hike. We're in Tilden Park. Fog's starting to lift. So we're gonna go check out this stone wall, and then we compare it later to the Spanish colonial walls. It's Tilden Park, Berkeley. It's pretty much directly east of the UC Berkeley campus. We're up in the hills. Elevations probably 500 to 1,000 feet. We're approaching the ridge. First heard about this rock wall like years ago and didn't really take it seriously. A friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, it goes all the way to San Jose, ruins Mesoamerican or something." And then I just was hiking and kind of stumbled upon a portion of it here in Berkeley, and then that's cool how the fog's going in and down. Did start doing research. This guy has a website. I'll put a link. They mapped them all the rock walls in California, which there's miles and miles. This is just one section here in Berkeley. There you can see the golf course down there. Some strange things over there. So they go for miles. Northern California, mainly East Bay and San Luis Obispo. Whoa, I gotta pay attention. So anyway, the strange thing about them is, even in the newspaper reports, at the time they were a mystery. UC Berkeley professors, there's some guy was studying them, but nothing. Here we are looking north. To Volmer Peak. So when the Spanish arrived, they asked the Native Americans, and they didn't know who built the walls. They said they were already there. I'm sure they had their stone circles they used for teepee construction, or the wigwam, other dwellings, but apparently, and you'll see the extent. This would be an incredible amount of effort and work for what? We'll go check out the peak first. I think it's connected somehow to the wall. It's a line going towards it anyway, as you'll see later. There's some radio towers. I don't want to stay up here too long. So the settlers and ranchers planted all these pine trees, so it's mixed in with the oak and bay laurel, but I always like looking at tree rings. So I cut these down for put the radio towers. And you notice how when it was younger, 100 years ago, give or take, look how big the tree rings are. And then as it gets more close to modern times, they're smaller and smaller. I mean, these are big pine trees, and they're not necessarily native to this area, but we're on a ridge top, a peak here. And there's only rain 7 months out of the year. I can feel the radiation coming from there. So yeah, it's pretty weird. Either maybe it was more precipitation, more water 100 years ago, 150. But I looked at some of those eucalyptus trees you'd think would be 200, 300 years old. But then they turn out to be younger. There's nothing much else up here. The structure, just cool views. It's Mount Diablo. When I grew up, they said they called it that because whenever the Spanish or sent a scout up there, they'd never return. And the natives didn't want to go up to the top. There's a lot of mountain lions in the area back then. Alright, now to the good part. This rock wall. It reminds me of the walls that Michael Tellinger's work in South Africa. These basalt, there's no mortar, just dry fit, stacked. So this peak does have strategic viewpoints, 360 degree, the surrounding area. Be a good place to put a castle or an outpost. So I didn't realize this video, it could be another video, but this is the Albany bulb. This peninsula right there is completely artificial, made of rubble or the old world ruins that they just piled up. And you go over there and there's like just bricks everywhere, cement, stone, concrete, ruins of structures. Yeah, I never thought. I went there a while ago and I was like, what the hell is this? As if the narrative is hilarious. Alright, so the peak, Volmer Peak, we just came from is direct to the right, and we're approaching this ruins here. One thing I forgot to mention, on the west slope of it's just really rocky, like this shale rock. And this is kind of, maybe I'll go back and take a picture. Anyway, continue on. Bunny rabbit. I'll give you perspective. So we're just up here on the ridge. Give you a little perspective. That should be pretty. approach here. Let's go up early enough. There's not a lot of other hikers. Straight lines. Okay, so there's the radio tower, the peak. And here's the part that is exposed anyway. The start of it. See how that part is either sunken below, eroded away, and it comes up, and it's hard to determine what the original size of these rocks, because they're all different, either broken up or there's no way it's a natural formation. No one's disputing that. It's who built it and why and when. This is one. And so you can see where, yeah, the ranchers used part of these as their fencing for their boundaries. But why would they just pile up these rocks here? So look at how just the top of the ridge, and then all this is buried under debris, and then it goes into this tree. I mean, come on. Look how this tree grew around the fence post. So they have done some lichen studies on part of the walls, but that just tells you when the lichen started growing. It doesn't tell you how old the rocks or the wall is, because it could have been buried and then exposed only 300 years ago. So yeah, the lichen growth is inconsistent depending on how much sun and water each season you're getting. So that's not an accurate way to, in my opinion. And look at this, how it's just giant boulders sunken below. And this is fused together, and there's a lot of grass now, but before I think this was like almost like stairs. And just a steep down grade and then a valley. I mean, how deep is this? See how it's just along this ridge. And it slopes down. Again, there's just scattered rocks everywhere. This one looks interesting. Most of the rocks I thought were basalt, but some could be sandstone. Looks like sandstone up here. The basalt volcanic from Mount Sibley. Again, the wall's just completely buried in rubble. Who would go to all this work, pile up these rocks? I mean, your cattle are just gonna jump over it. I'd like to know how deep this goes. It seems maybe. There is a theory that the Chinese Mongols that arrived here, possibly 14th century or 15th century. Or were they Tartarians, what we call Tartarians, Atlanteans? A lot of these rocks are pretty big. And so here's along the trail. This is like a pile of rocks. It's all covered in brush. Then you got giant boulders like this. So was there more to it than just the wall? And how deep does this wall? Let's see. I mean, you can see how it's about 3 or 4 feet wide. This part up here is this is probably the tallest near the edge, since it's been exposed by erosion or flood. It seems like it's, you know, you can see double wall construction like a castle. And there's all kinds of rocks on this side scattered down the hillside. And this side is where the ocean, so if a wall of water came during the most recent flood, it would have devastated this, but who knows. What I find strange is this is just a few miles from UC Berkeley, and yet they don't want to excavate or do any kind of archaeological. So they think, oh no, it's probably just the Spanish ranchers piled up these rocks to clear the hillside. What? Yeah, they had the time to do that? I mean, this could be a whole village something buried under here. The article from, if you're familiar with Analog's work, check out his show on California. Because apparently they found like a Stone Age city buried on the campus of UC Berkeley. And this is up in the hills. A stone wall that could be hundreds or thousands years old, who knows. Maybe it was buried and then exposed and then reburied. But look at how big this tree is. Now again, it must have grown a lot faster 100 years ago, because we're on a ridge top. Look at all these other trees, and notice how they plant these trees along the like they're trying to cover it up. So that tree's probably at least 150 years old. What the? So here's looking back on perspective-wise, the ridge top, and then just follow where the pine trees are, and that's where the wall would be. And this area over here is just so dense, thick with brush and covered, just like here, like you don't know what's under there. This is the only part in this area that's exposed. Now they're to the south, Sonoma, Fremont area, San Jose area, there's more rock walls all over the hills. It's a farther drive, so I have more time. I gotta go there, meet with a crew, do some excavating. Gotta dig, find the truth. It's a pretty cool little bench rock here. You can see where it was split. Split in half, and if this was part of the structure. But look how it just slopes down. And then this ridge kind of follows all the way. This rocky ridge over there. Sandstone. And it runs along there. Here under this brush. And this section's kind of just more in ruins, as you can see. And you know, pretty big blocks, medium size. Some of them are bigger, or were these fused together? Yeah, then it just kind of goes under the ground, disappears. And there's some of that rock I just showed. So from there, this ridge top goes dramatic grade down. So see, we're up on the top, and then it just immediately slopes down. It's just tons of the same type of rocks, like block. They've been cut, partially hewn. Of course, pine trees. I guess maybe the eucalyptus didn't grow here. They used pine. See, all the pine trees are dying because they don't get enough water here. Following the line, this is where so there is a boulder here. I mean, that's right in line. It's just still under here. It's just covered up. Yeah. Following this fence line. Down there, it's just too thick. You need a freaking chainsaw to get through that. Right angle. So I have hiked this whole ridge line from Seaview to the next trailhead anyway, and I couldn't really, it's just all in ruins. It's like little tiny segments. You're like, oh, is that part of the wall? Or is that just rocks randomly in a line? Which, I guess, now we're, it was the highest point of the ridge. These pine trees do a good job of covering shit up because of all the pine needles that they drop. So like I was mentioning, you'll see little crossings of the trail like this, and you wonder, was that just trail crews? And then the boulders go into the ground again. And then there's just like a random boulder exposed. Like these. This looks more like sandstone than basalt. Are you kidding me? Whoa. Or is that just coincidence? These look very interesting. I have found some reddish type rocks here that they call lava rocks. Those pine tree clusters, the wall, as you come down along the ridge, you find more rocks like this, which have more lichen growth, but more lava reddish brick sandstone type-ish. We've documented in San Francisco parks. What's interesting, this is in line. As you see the fence. So is this part of the wall that's just buried and eroded away? Oh, I thought that was just... So this is weird. Oh, look how these eucalyptus grove just starts right here. More random boulders just in line. And then it just kind of another little hilltop here with you know, there's eucalyptus trees. So if this wall was here before the most recent cataclysm of water, looks like this would be a channel. So maybe this section of the wall just got pulverized. And then you find on the ridge tops where it's been exposed, that one section of survival. And the other sections, if you look at that map of how many walls, the scale is gigantic. There's no way it was Spanish or just Chinese Mongols. There's a geological marker, 1949. It's almost like this might have been a road or something. What would be the purpose of putting up just a rock wall if there's already a ridge here? Or unless it was part of a larger structure. As I'm still finding remnants of it. You can see how far this ridge goes around that turn, and like another couple miles. Just the golf course, which it's like a nice little strategic valley area protected by these ridges. More pine trees. Look. Must be a section. It's more like sandstone, but it is. It just really gets steep downgrade. The moss growth on this. And again, it's got these like right angle areas where they meet in a four corner. I mean, it's unnatural. Some of these were excavated to build this tower, but it's definitely a mystery. I just found another section that you would not even see from the trail. So see, I was hiking along here and looking at these exposed. And I'm just up on top where the fence line is. It's more like in ruins, but it's directly in the same line. Same kind of construction. These look like the rocks have been broken up. Whatever force. Smaller pieces. And they got that tower. It's where those eucalyptus